Now let's look at a function file for carrying out incremental search. The function name is incsearch. And pay attention here, your function name should be the same as your M file name. This is a rule in Matlab. You always need to do this. So here, in the first line of the function definition, here we can see the function name is incsearch, and the M file name itself is incsearch.m. So make sure they are the same. And for this function, we have xb as the output and four inputs: func, xmin, xmax, and ns. Here, func input is the name of the function we want to solve root for, and xmin and xmax are the endpoints of an interval that we want to work on. And ns is the number of subintervals or number of brackets that contain roots. And for the output xb has two columns. First column is the lower bound of the kth sign change, and the second column is the upper bound of the kth sign change. So as you can recall from lecture 4, incremental search is looking for sign change within a bracket. And if no bracket is found, the xb will return a null vector. And first, in the body of the function, the first line is to check if we have enough inputs. If the input number is smaller than 3, then an error message will be printed, as at least 3 arguments are required, which are the func, xmin, and xmax. And if there are 3 or more inputs here, if there are less than 4 inputs, and in this case means there are 3 inputs, then we give default value to ns, which is 50 brackets. And next, we can start our incremental search. First, we need to initialize an x vector. This x vector is for saving all the brackets from xmin to xmax, and in total 50 brackets. And we use this linear space function to make this vector. And then we can get f, which equals to function x. This is a second vector that are calculated based on each of the values in the x. And some other initial values, nb equals 0, xb equals null. And now we go to the for loop, which is the main steps in this function. So the for loop loops through the length of x. In this case, x is ns, which is 50. And if the sign of fk is not equal to the sign of fk plus 1, that means there is a sign change. In this case, we count this bracket as a useful bracket that contains a root, at least one root. And so we increase nb by 1. In the first loop, nb is 0. And by executing nb equals nb plus 1, nb now is 1. And then we save this bracket. If the sign is different, there's a sign change, we will save this bracket into the xb vector, into the xb matrix. And we do this for all the brackets so that in the end we get all the brackets that has sign change on the boundaries. And in the end, after this, we can use a if statement to check if the xb is empty. If in the case xb is empty, we will display no brackets found and check interval or increase ns. So either we chose the wrong interval for xmin and xmax, or we chose too big brackets. In that case, we need to increase the number of brackets in ns. Else, if we do have some brackets that contain roots, we will display the number of brackets as NB. And here, the real output of this function is XB instead of this display. This display is just for displaying some message, but the real output is saved in XB, where all the useful brackets are saved. So now we can switch to command window, where we can do an example of calling this inc search function, the class example. So first we define the function to be sine 10 times x plus cosine 3 times x. Okay. So now we have the function defined as f1. f1 equals sine 10x plus cosine 3x. And always remember, you need to have the multiplication sign here, okay? And now we can give a output name as brackets, and now we call the inc search. And the first input is f1, and then the second input is xmin. Here we put 3 as the boundary, and the other boundary is 6. And we are going to have 100 intervals, okay? And now, if I click, I can get that the number of brackets, 9, and the bracket, which is the real output, has all the 9 intervals listed here. This 250, which is in fact the default, okay? We get 5 intervals only. How about if we use 100, 1000? We still get the 9 bracket.